let me find something to wipe the screen. Everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the origin of marriage. So give me a minute. Let me get something to wipe my screen. All right, let's go. Once we get how many people? Once we get 15 people in here, I'll go ahead and start. How about that? Once we get where are we at here? Once we get 15 people in here, I'm gonna go ahead and begin. And then we'll know everybody who's here. In the chat, who is here? I want to see if any of the regulars are here. Let me see who's here already in the chat. Go ahead and let me know who's here already. Once we get 15 in here, we're going to be beginning. I'm going to be telling the story of the origin of marriage according to our ancestors in Odinani Ndibo. Hey, the Rude Mechanical says howdy, one name, howdy. Hey, Chief, hi Chief, Chinyere, Njoku, Eri, one of Eri Kingdom. Kedu. Ndewo da. All right, who else is in here? Let me see who's all in here. Once we get 15 people in here, right? For those who are new, Mazi, Ndewo Mazi. Good, always good seeing you. Ndewo. Let's see who else. Once we get 15 people in here, we're being ambitious today. We're already at 7. So I'm going to be telling a story about the origin of marriage. I'll be answering questions. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot. Adumma, kedu. Oh, one day, Adumma. Cool, wonderful. Chief, it sounds like you've been practicing. Sounds like you've been practicing. Adumma, one them. Bali. Wonderful. Here we got 8 people in here. Only 3 have told me who's all in here. If you are brand new, if you've never been here before, my name is Derek Ofadermwa. I'm the host of TheMedicineShell. I teach Odinani Ndibo, which is Igbo spirituality, cosmology, and ancestral sciences. I go live every Friday, of course. Fiber of my being is I make videos on Igbo spirituality and history here on YouTube. So if you're new, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You are going to enjoy what you see. My most recent video was actually the part 2, and I'm going to post the full documentary tomorrow. But I've been doing the history of high life. And the video itself is hard for me to title because while high life is the theme, there's a whole lot in there. It's the history of just about an entire generation and their quest for the concept of awele. Now, if you don't know what awele means, go ahead and watch the video. It is, damn, all right, we're at 20 already. He said, I don't even got time to promo. He said we're at 20 already. Okay, so as always, I'm going to bless the orgy for everybody, right? But right now, actually, let me bless the OG first. Hey, Snapple and Cats, your video today was very interesting. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the history of High Life video, go check them out. There's a part 1 and a part 2, right? The first one has Oliver de Cook on the thing. The second one is Flavor. So go check them both out. I have my whole family history, or I weave my family history into it because what I'm doing is I'm telling the story of a generation and I'm kind of using where my own family was at these different points in history and things like that. So anyways, we're back. So the next video, we're going to be dropping the regular videos after our little hiatus. So Odimma, let me go ahead and break the orgy for everybody, okay? Okike keruwa. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala wala. Ala nne ukwu. Ala na-enye ndụ. Ala dị mma. Ala bụ ihe niile anyị chọrọ n'ụwa. Ọjị abịala. Ọjị nke aka bụ ọjị ndị iche anyị gọtara na obi Chukwu ti n'aka anyị gwa anyị na ebe ọbụla ọjị dị ndụ dị, mana a sị na onye ọbụla bụtara ọjị pụtara ndụ. Jimoji n'aka na-ekele ndị ichem, na-ekelekwe ndị eke, na-ekele ndị orie, na-ekele ndị afọ, na-ekele ndị nkwọ, na-ekele ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ, ụmụ ajana na ụmụ kpakpando eluigwe. Ọwa ọjị nke ka m ji na-ekele unu. Otu unu fụrụ ọjị bụ otu anyị dị. Anyị bụ otu obi, otu ije, otu aka, otu mmụọ ka anyị ji aga ije ndụ okike ekere ka anyị gaa. Ọ nnọọ ka ọ ga-adị na eke, na orie, na afọ, na nkwọ. All right, we got to 15 very fast. So shout out to you guys. Now, here's the thing that drives me crazy. We've got 20 people in here, and only 11 people have hit the like button. We got 20 people in here. I'm going to repeat it like Dr. Umar until we get this right. We got 20 people in here, only 11 have hit the like button. If you are in the room, hit the like button. You say, receive it. If anybody who is in here, hit that like button. We got 13. We're 13. Whoever is holding out, you're delaying the program. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Man, we were engrossed. That witch, I don't know what you mean by that. Can you explain? Hey, Kel's TV, Keduki Ide. Ha 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 ha. By the way, ha 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 ha. Saying your name is very difficult, but I'm just roll with it. It says hello everybody. We got 18. Okay, now we got more likes than we got people, so we've succeeded. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. We were too busy listening. Oh, okay. I appreciate you guys for that. I'm going to be holding the Aji while I tell this story. So it is said that when an individual is holding the Aji, you are representing your ancestors. You're representing the first people. Ndimbu na Ndiegede. The ancestors that we share as a human family. Since the story I'm going to share comes from them, of course, I'm going to have to hold the Aji while telling it so that I can channel their truth to you guys. The story I'm sharing today is the story of the origin of marriage. The origin of marriage. Now, before I start the story, I got to let you guys know there are many stories that go to the origin of marriage as far as Igbo folklore goes, right? But I found this one particularly interesting for some reasons that might stand out in the story as I tell them. So pay very close attention. Listen close. You guys might catch it before I say it, okay? All right. This is the story of the origin of marriage according to the ancestors. The beginning of time was a very interesting time. The beginning of human culture and humanity was a time of great confusion as well as great innocence. Because in this time, there was a family who believed that they were the only family in the world. There was a man and there was a woman. And that man and that woman came together and they had 4 children, right? But the first 3 children were boys. And being the first 3 children, they saw this as a gift from Chukwu Okike Abiyama above. And so they gave these boys great respect. They respected their sons. They honored them. Whatever their sons said, they were going to go ahead and do that thing, right? But then Chukwu gave them another gift, which was a 4th child. And this 4th child was a girl who they named Nwoma, good child, Nwoma. Nwoma was a very beautiful little girl. And she was a very good girl, very obedient, very respectful, with amazing manners, right? Because our ancestors believe that beauty is not about the physical appearance alone, also in the character. A beauty of body that doesn't match character is an illusion. So Nwoma was a very beautiful young girl, right? And her family loved her so much that they treated her like a baby for the whole of her life. They would take care of her. Anything she needed, they would bring to her. They would pamper her. They would look after her. but they would also control her. They told her what to do. They told her where to go. They told her what not to do and where not to go. They set so many rules in front, and it wasn't just the parents. It was the brothers, the oldest brother, the second brother, the third brother, all of them giving this girl their rules and do this and do that and so on and so forth because they loved her so much and she was so innocent and she was so delicate that they didn't want anything in the world to happen to her. So they all watched over her like a hawk. Well, Nana grew older and she became a woman. And she realized that her parents showed so much respect to the brothers, but when it came to her, they treated her like a child. And so she had a plan. She, so one day, when her mother and father weren't watching, and her brothers weren't watching, she entered into the bush, a bush that she was told never to enter. And she wandered and she wandered. And when she peered, she saw 3 boys. Now, this took her back because her whole life, she believed that her family was the only family in the world. In fact, her own father had told her that they were the first family that he created in the world. But here are 3 boys playing with each other, having fun, being free. At least she wanted to be free. One particular brother caught her eye. She looked at him and he looked at her. And so then she got startled. She ran back to her home. Well, when she was in her home, she thought, and she thought. And she saw how those boys were free and they were having fun. They didn't have all of these rules and regulations and people watching over her or them. And so she said, all right, I know what I'm going to do. The next day, Mama woke up, ran straight into that bush, and never came back. Well, her parents, who loved her very much, and no matter how old she got or no matter how big or tall, they'd always see her as the baby of the family, they got very worried. And they searched all over the known world for their baby. They called the brothers and they said that your sister is missing. You must find her. And they searched all over the world for the baby until they finally ran to the other family on the other side of the forest. They demanded, you must bring our sister back. But the sister said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be here. They said, why? She said, because you treat me like a child, but they treat me like a woman. And they said, Mama, come back. Let's come back home. She said, no, I'm not coming back home. So the brothers got very angry and they went back to their parents and they said, our sister is refusing to come home. So the parents pondered and pondered and they said, all right, if she's not coming back by own free will, perhaps she'll come back by way of negotiation. So the parents and the brothers went to the family. They said, listen, you have taken our baby from us. You have taken something very precious from us. We would like her back. The parents of the 3 boys said, we cannot make your daughter do what she does not want to do. And she wants to be here where she is a diviner, a dibia. And they went to the dibia and they said, dibia, this is what we are facing. This is what's going on. What should we do? We had this young, innocent baby girl, and she's ran away and has joined another family. And the dibia said, well, what has happened was the will of Chukwu Okike Abiyama, and that you will not have your daughter back. But what you can do is ask the family to give you something to make up for the loss that you are experiencing. And so the family went back and said, all right, if you want our daughter to be a part of your family, then we need an entire list of items. They said they needed chickens, they needed goats, they needed fabrics, they needed alcohol, they needed this and that and this. And the brother saw that Mwama was such a wonderful, beautiful addition to the family that they said, all right, you can have it. And they scoured the world and they got every single thing necessary to marry this girl and they gave it to the family. And on that day, it was made official that Uoma was now the member of a new family. But Chukwu would look at this marriage with a disdaining eye because he noticed that Uoma would go to bed not just with one brother, but with all three. And this was not a part of the program. So Chukwu became very angry. Chukwu demanded that the brothers assemble, and the brothers assembled. And Chukwu told the brothers that it is only one of you who can marry this woman. For one woman, or for no man can share his wife with another man. And the brothers said, okay, but which of us will it be? And Chukwu said, since this is the first marriage, she must go to the first brother. And from then on, this child, who became a woman by the name of Uoma, became the wife of the first son. Now, there's a very old tradition in Igbo land where you do not get married before your older brother. So this is also this is the origin of that story. You also don't build a house and a whole bunch of stuff before your older brother. But times have changed. You can't really keep that one up. But yeah, that's really it. That's the origin of marriage according to this particular culture in Igbo land. So I wanted to, if you guys have any questions or anything you guys want to ask me or any thoughts on this, go ahead and let it go. If you have thoughts and questions, even off topic that have nothing to do with this particular story, go ahead and let it go. And yeah, I'm just going to answer questions. When the questions run out, I'm shutting the camera off. Cool story, bro. It says cool story. Adema. He felt some type of way, indeed, riveting. Oh, I appreciate that. Creative. I appreciate that. How does the universe end in return? Oh, damn. How does the universe end as in return to singularity? All right. So I'm really glad you asked this question because now it's making me think. So for those who don't know, according to our ancestors, the world began as a singularity known as Atu, sometimes known as Oma, right? And this singularity split in two pieces, Chi and Eke, right? And the Chi element is the active living force, right? The Eke element is the passive force. And the different places in Igbo land have different accounts of what happened, but all of them tell a story where it either explodes or is torn to pieces by Chi. And so from one, they became two. From two, they became a whole lot, right? And if you follow the stories in Igbo cosmology, right, it's always closeness, separation, and this just continues on and on and on. So I don't think the next phase of existence is a return to singularity. I think it's going to be a further division and a further separation from what we even have now. So from one became two, from two became many, from many will become more. So I don't think it's going to return to singularity. That was a really good question. Thank you for that. Nigeria says, Kedu, Kedu, Nwanne, Kedu, Kedu, Kedu. Uh-huh. Oh, wait, no, that was way back. I need to scroll down. I wonder how much of this varies across cultures because I've seen similar marriage traditions all the way through East Africa. I don't have a cell in my body that doubts that marriage comes from Africa, that marriage is an African tradition. Um, there's a lot in the story. There's a lot of interesting things in the story because there's this narrative we tell in the West about marriage, and I wonder if it's really the truth, or I wonder if it's really how things came together, right? But we'll see where the questions go. Wonder how much is okay. I became curious earlier during the video today, more specifically, what your exposure to Marxist movements and offshoots have been. Like, what have you specifically studied? I have read one fourth of the Communist Manifesto, and then I'm obsessed with history, so like I know the history of the USSR like the back of my hand, and things like that. I'm not really ideological, and I'm definitely not that far left. Um, but yeah, I've dipped my toes in Marxist theory. So yeah, I was surprised that Azikiwe, who was the father of Nigerian independence, was so guided by Marxist theory and everything he was doing, and it was too because that's kind of independence for Nigeria. For those video I just released, which is the history of high life 2. There's a story in there about Nnamdi Azikiwe, who's the father of Nigerian independence. He's the one that the British were arresting and were threatened by. And so what he did was, he'd studied Marx and leftist theory, that kind of thing. And from there, he became like a staunch, like Pan-Africanist. And in being a Pan Africanist, he had the idea to use the newspaper, to use writing to fight colonialism. So he was going to overthrow the British Empire just by writing, you understand? Because he felt that the big strength that the British Empire had was that the lack of awareness. It was the lack of awareness that people had of what's really going on. You understand? There's an understated thing about colonialism, especially indirect rule, which was the situation in Nigeria, where people don't realize how few people knew they were in an empire. How few. There were deals being made by people at the very top of society. The average person typically didn't even know that this was what was going on, right? That kind of thing. It's like you figuring out now the whole time that Earth has been a part of the I don't know, Saturn Colony 6 or something, right? Like, who would have known kind of thing? How would I even know? So Azikiwe would write and he would spread information. He would let people know about their rights, British labor laws, and things like that. And in telling the workers that were working about the British labor laws, this was a perfect marriage because around the time of World War II and like towards the end of it, Britain had gone bankrupt. And in being bankrupt, it started using forced labor in its colonies to extract resources, right? So in the Iva Valley, which is a coal mine in Enugu, they would wages weren't being paid, workers weren't receiving their benefit. Just like if you don't work, you're losing your job. You're not going to get paid anyways, but you lose this job. What else are you going to do, right? That kind of thing. And so Azikiwe began to spread awareness, like, hey, you're in the British Empire. These are your rights as a British subject, so on and so forth. So then they began demanding for their labor rights and things like that. And the British shot them. And then after the British shot them, they arrested Azikiwe, and Azikiwe became this big folk hero, and that spread the awareness even further. And the independence movement then kicked off, and that kind of thing. So yeah, there was a glitch. The sound. Oh, oh. I'm using this BS Wi-Fi in this state that I'm in, and so because of that, you guys, this is not going to be the best stream quality wise. I apologize. I forgot to put on my data, but yeah, that's so that it was interesting. I didn't know that Marx's theory played a role in that whole thing, but it did. So I wanted to make sure to include that particular part of the story in it. But I should also make everybody aware that once Nigeria gained its independence, he kind of toned down on the Marxism. He toned down on the Marxism. He began to see it as unrealistic and as a solution for whatever they were facing in Nigeria. And he took a more pragmatic approach. He was like an incrementalist. He believed that, for Nigeria to have progress, it'd be an incremental, gradual thing, and that it's better not to interrupt the pace of progress with any type of radical movement here and there, which then pissed off the younger people, right? And so, anyways, all that plays out in the video that I just made. So it's like a history of high life 2. If anybody has the link to it, post it in the thing. So I'd appreciate that. All right, so let's see. Yeah, it might be the Wi-Fi. We just miss a word or two in a while, but still understand most of it. That sucks, but okay, sorry about that. I don't want to turn on my data now because I feel like it'll disconnect me completely. So it's just a mistake I made. I apologize. What I meant by the question was, how do we return to a monolithic state? Okay, like the two become one. Okay, how do we return? I don't have the answer to that. Are you asking me how to make the universe into a single thing? Yeah. I'm just a guy in a Soprano shirt. I don't know how we would make, I don't know how we would reverse the spreading shift of the universe or tide of the universe. I think it's just in the design. I'm actually finishing up the video on Akaraka, poem reading. So pieces of your question are in there. And the particular piece that's in there is the fact that the design of Chuku or Chineke's design is permanent and irreversible. It's permanent and irreversible, right? You can manipulate and delay, but it will be what it'll be. So if the design was for more separation, so be it. Um, or are you saying the oneness with Chuku, human oneness with Chuku, or the universal oneness of matter, right? That kind of thing. A singularity would solve our class struggle. Wouldn't have much else. We'll find something else. If we were all the same, we'll find something else. That man, that's quantum physics questions. Yeah, man, I appreciate you guys for having enough confidence in me to ask me a quantum ass question like that. But that one's way up there. Science says Fulani are basically Wolof and Berbers. Maybe. It's feasible for Odinani shrines to exist abroad. Is it? Seeing that many Igbos abroad find their way back to Odinani, and many of them are, yeah, yeah, completely, completely. Yeah, you can set up a shrine anywhere. You can set up a shrine absolutely anywhere. Your home, at a physical location, anything like that, you know. America has a culture of demolishing things. America has a culture of demolishing things. So in this particular country, it's hard to erect something that's supposed to be here forever, because you don't know when Bed Bath and Beyond is going to need more land. But yes, you can set up a shrine anywhere. I know an individual who set up like a river shrine in I want to say Germany. I'm trying to get him on my channel. I'm trying to get him on my channel. So hopefully that goes well. But I know a guy who set up like a water shrine in Germany. But yeah, you can set up shrines here you can set up anywhere in the world. Yeah, anywhere in the world. Let's see here. Senegambian regions or make sure Senegambian Berber immigrant. Okay. I'm asking because I learned that you do an initiation right Ilagon in your father's house in your village. Yes. Yeah, maybe. Um, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, if you want to follow the traditional Igbo way of doing it, that is how it's done. But if you receive the abia to do it, that's what it is. You understand? You're gonna do it, right? And Igbo peoples have spread throughout the world since the beginning of time and set up shrines all over the place. And a lot of that is what we're calling ATR today. So yeah, if you want to follow the current tradition on it, yeah, you'd go to your father's place, you do Ilagon, then you go somewhere else. But if you receive the inspiration on its own, it doesn't matter, right? If it is your akaraka, if your chi says do it, you have to do it. There's no, uh, it's just what it is, that kind of thing. So okay, the thing is about shrines is, or in Irishi, I'm going to use the term Irishi. Thing is about shrines in Igbo culture is anybody can set up an Irishi. And Irishi is only valuable based on how much it works, right? So if I set up an Irishi and I say, hey, this Irishi can do blah, 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 and it doesn't do that thing, then it doesn't matter if I did Iluagu, it doesn't matter if I'm in Japan or Okigwe or anywhere, you understand? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's an Ilu that says an Ikenga that fails to be an Ikenga should be used as firewood, right? So you can set up a shrine anywhere, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Now, is performing Ilagun rest Iru- I'm s- is performing Iragun necessary for you to get the shrine to work? I absolutely believe so. Yes, I absolutely believe so. You understand? Um, But yeah, you can set it up. If you set it up somewhere and it works and you didn't do your algorithm, then it works, right? So shrine is only as valuable as its capacity to work, as its ability to prove itself. If a shrine exists, it's not a matter of, okay, because we're Odinani people, we have to just believe this thing is real and just act like it's real. No. If this shrine, if you're saying that this thing makes people wealthy, then if I go there and do the thing you told me to do, that should happen, right? And it doesn't live up to whatever promise you gave, then so be it. So most shrines are channels or gateways for communicating with the forces or the abara of nature, right? The abara. So you can go to a river and you set up a shrine, and this is the place where you meet with the river to communicate with that river, right? You can set a shrine somewhere, and this is the place I go to communicate with the so forth, right? So if you understand it from that context, you understand that do it and you can make it work, right? And Arushi is a technology. It's a technology, right? If we want to be really abstract, like some of you may see it as abstract, I don't see it as abstract. A lot of the technologies we're using right now are shrines. You understand? It's a medium for reaching a force or a power. My Wi-Fi router that's giving me issues right now is is an Arushi. Arushi, a source of works, where the works come from, where the works come from, right? So my Wi-Fi router, a solar panel, all those different things, they're Arushi. You understand? They're sources. You're channeling power from nature and using it to do what you need to do, or using it now you can interface with it as a human being. So yeah, I mean, shit, anybody can do it. All right, so I'm gonna say, but I probably need to throw this Wi-Fi router, use it for firewood, as the Elu says, because this thing it's not what it is. And I tried to get the not like the fancy, expensive one. Nothing happened. But yeah, they broke away from the ancestors of Edo and Yoruba. Chi is a singularity. Hold on, wait. If we go by linguistics, Igbo originated at the confluence of the Niger and Benue rivers. I don't think so, but it could be, but I don't think so. Um, can I ask what are the different kinds of shrine? What? Oh, okay. Every shrine is different, but each shrine again is, let's use the word technology. Each shrine is a technology used to contact a force. So, for example, if you set up an altar for communicating with your chi, then that's what it is. If you set up an altar communicating with your ancestors, that's what it is. If you go big and you set up one for communicating with maybe the ancestors of an entire community, right? That's what that is too. It becomes a community arushi. If you set up a shrine by a river and it communicates with that river, that's what that is, so on and so forth. So shrines are as diverse as there are things that you are trying to communicate with, right? Many communities will have several different shrines. And like I said earlier, when they work, right? When they work, that's when, they survive if they work. If there's an Ilu that says, in a time of, I can't remember how to, I'm not going to try to say it in Igbo because I'll butcher it, but in a time of battle, we learn who the real gods are, right? In the time of battle or in time of war, we learn who the real gods are. So you can set up a billion hour sheet, but if we go at it and mine beats yours, then that's just what it's going to be. Now, because it's based off what works, there are certain shrines that have become very popular, or shrine styles that have become popular, and people who have activated that shrine in their own community are invited to other communities to come and set up new shrines here and set up new shrines there. Check out my video, Osu Explained. OSU, I'm going to type it here. It really goes into this whole concept, Osu Explained. Because from my research, Osu Explained, from my research, what I came to learn about the people in Igbo land they refer to as Osu. These are, the original Osu is the person who activates a shrine. So all of us are trying to do this thing, then all of a sudden, I get the communication, right? I get the signal. Hey, I've tapped into the earth. Okay, you've tapped into the earth, make this happen. I make it happen, so on and so forth. I've proven over and over that I can make this thing happen. At that point, I have the awful of that thing, of the shrine. And when I pass, my descendants get it, my descendants, and so on and so on and so forth. But I am also an extension of that shrine. right? I am that shrine. So these people have certain rules that dictate their existence in the culture, many of which have become a problem, right? It's become a big problem in Igbo, a huge problem in Igbo culture. But the original ones, and anytime that shrine needs to be activated, you go to that person, and that person has the signature to turn that thing on. But one of the problems we have in Igbo land is that there's serious discrimination against these people, right? Just because of years of compiled ignorance as to who they are and what they do. And so a lot of them don't want to do that duty because then it causes problems for them in the community. And that's why a lot of shrines are going into disrepair at home, right? Because the people come back, the very bad treatment they get at home now that everybody's a Christian and they think this person's the devil and all that stuff, right? And so I explain all of it in my Osu Explained documentary. But yeah, the once you activate a shrine, typically the custom is the descendants of the activator are necessary for making it work each time. Making it work each time. Yo, hold on. I need to scroll down on this one. All right, let's see here. Yo, Derek, did you hear that UNESCO declaring jollof rice from Senegal, Nigerian and Ghanaian twin? Yeah, no, I knew jollof rice came from Senegal, right? Jollof rice 100% came from Senegal. It 10,000% came from Senegal, right? And probably came by way of and was transferred all over Africa by probably by Fulani people and other nomadic groups because it's a very nomadic food. It doesn't, there's no soup that is going to spill, right? So it's compact, you can move around with it and that kind of thing. Jollof, there's nothing in traditional like Igbo culture where you'll use jollof rice. In fact, if you bring jollof rice to like a titled man, you've insulted him. Jollof rice is like kids' food. You understand? I don't, it's like kids' food or like something like party knickknacks. It's not really a big part of Igbo culture, but everybody eats it, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm sure the Ghanaian and Nigerian Twitter had at it. But yeah, I could have told you it came from Senegal. There's jollof rice. I mean, my own personal theory. Fulani people come from a place called Funta Jalon, and I think it's Jalon rice. I think that's probably the original name, and then from Jalon becomes Jollof because they're also called different things. Could also come from Wolof. I'm not sure, but it's whatever. It's definitely from Senegal. Either theory, same thing. Wolof people also called Jollof people. Okay, Chinyere has answered the question. Wolof people are also called Jollof people. This is Wolof rice. So that's what it is. But yeah, it's definitely from Senegal. It's obvious. Nigerians be like, what's in Bidisha? Jollof rice is actually Senegalese origin. We only made it better. Some would say we have made it better. I might have to agree, man. I might have to agree. I've had Ghanaian jollof rice. I haven't had Senegalese. I'm kind of feeling sick, so like if my nose starts running or anything like that, be cool. Don't unsubscribe. But yeah, uh, I've actually has actually become my health gauge because if I don't feel like going there, I know something's wrong. And with how I am, I never know I'm sick until I'm done being sick. I just think like, why am I being lazy today, or why do I feel tired today? But I've been sleeping a lot and all kinds of things, so I'm definitely sick. Um, and I haven't gone to my altar in like 5 days. And typically, like if it's like 2 days, I know okay something's off. Right? Maybe something emotional or something health wise. And so others don't feel guilty if you okay I didn't give the ancestors this and this and that. Usually that thing can kind of be a compass. There's an ilu that says a hungry man avoids his shrine, right? Yeah, a hungry man avoids his shrine. So all these things are gauges as to where you're at as a person. So I'll do my when you make a shrine, is it like catching Pokemon? uh if you want to make a Pokemon shrine, nobody's stopping you. Yeah, and then also people make shrines all the time, right? It's not like African people. Like the reason I say that, yeah, you can do Ilago at home and all that stuff, but like what do you think hoodoo and voodoo and Santeria and all the, what do you guys think that is? Ifa and all that sort of, it's just people making shrines in different places, people doing the African thing in different places. So you don't necessarily need to go back to your father's place and do Iwako. If you want to do become a dibia in the culturally sanctioned way, yes, that's how you would do it. You understand? But yeah, people make shrines everywhere. It's not, you can't stop anybody. If you have the inspiration, if your chi says make that shrine, you'll make that shrine. It doesn't matter. Chi is a singularity that is formless, aka is duality of form. Okay, interesting. That arises from the chi and returns to the chi. Originally, there is one formlessness, and we contrast second thing, okay, form. Game of life, your where your brain is at right now, and where my illness and possibly brain is are in two different places. So if you're on Patreon, message me on Patreon. I feel like there's a really good conversation that we can have. If you, so yeah, message me on Patreon. We can definitely talk about this. But I'm interested in knowing more of your thoughts on this idea of singularity and what you specifically mean in your question. I like your question though. Don't get me wrong. A couple of different types of shrines there are. Are you familiar with Douglas Chambers? Mazi, no, I'm not familiar with Douglas Chambers. So if you know Douglas Chambers and you want to share information, Douglas Chambers, hit me. All right. I am answering questions. This is Q&A time. I've told the story of marriage, the origin of marriage, the place that Nama, the rebellious young girl, played in making marriage a thing. If you guys have any questions, ask the questions. Once the questions are done, I'm hopping. So if you want to keep this going, keep the questions coming. Even if the questions make no damn sense, just keep them going. Person asked me if we can make a Pokemon shrine. Yeah, you can. If you want to make one, go ahead. You know. Chinese, I froze. Damn it. Okay, this was back then. All right, no problem. Commoner food. Yeah, yeah. Creative Force says jollof rice is. It's not. It's like kids' food, right? And I mean, I don't want to like. I'm not the guy that's like raining on people's parade and well, that's not how you do it. And we can have fun, do whatever you want. But this is for children. Do you understand? Jollof rice is for children. That's kids' food. You understand? And most people in diaspora, their relationship with their culture is this is my parents' culture and going to my parents' banquet and my parents' event. So sure, they're eating jollof up and down. They're eating it at home, that kind of thing. But if you give an ozo, if you bring a plate of jollof rice for an ozo, my friend, even fufu, even fufu. A titled man in our culture won't eat fufu. Fufu is specifically, and this is the thing, like this is just like a probably just like a pointless rant, but it lives in me and it's that's what it is. So fufu is in Igbo we call that apple, and fufu is being used to say gari. And I feel like this is going to cause a problem for the people who are coming from abroad and going to visit Africa because they're going to say, oh, give me some fufu. I want fufu, right? So fufu is being used in place of gari. I don't know why, but whatever, right? And the thing is, fufu is cassava, and fufu has a very bad smell. And like you have to be like from the soil to eat fufu because that smell is unreal. So if everybody's being handed fufu and they've never smelt something like that, the cassava one, not the gari one. If everybody's being handed fufu that are visiting, you know, coming in there, what they call it, Nigerians call their own dirty December, year of return, Ghana, whatever. If they're coming there saying, I want fufu, and you're giving them the cassava one, they each eat it. I don't know. That's not. So yeah, ask for gari, right? If you're returning to Africa, ask for gari. If they give you the one that smells, say, can I ask for gari? Fufu is a very specific thing. You understand? It's a very specific thing. It's not the general one. Everybody thinks it's the oh yeah, fufu, fufu, up and down. It's the cassava one. And if you're a titled man, you can't eat the cassava one, or a titled woman as well. You can't eat the apple. You can't eat the one made cassava. It's an abomination, right? My dad, according to my dad, people started eating it after the war because of starvation. They didn't have anything else to eat, right? But it's fufu and jollof, which are for this whatever. It's just the way of the world. They're the popular ones on the internet. And jollof is delicious. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody enjoy what they want to enjoy. If you like fufu, if you've never had fufu before and you go there and you smell it and you just love that smell and you're eating fufu, that kind of thing, okay, then cool, that's fine. But just know that people are using fufu to say gari. So you might want to say gari, Garri. And then that's the one that people are actually growing up eating. All of these people on Twitter, I'll tell you right now, not a single one of them has eaten fufu again. Not one of them has eaten fufu in their lives. Not one of them. You understand? All these, my dad is from this place, my mom is from there, have never tasted fufu in their life. If somebody has eaten fufu, that is like a real, like somebody from the soil. You understand? So I'm sure I lost 90%. It's cool. Just know if you're going to Africa, ask for gari. Unless you want fufu specifically. Fufu is a very specific thing that none of these internet people have eaten before, but they're just calling it fufu because I don't know. We're not really strict about words. Yeah. You can roast out the Jollof Empire. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Wow, same thing. So grumpy, feel physically terrible issue. I'm sure there's like a strain of something. I can't say the word because I'll get like demonetized and stuff. But I'm sure there's a strain of something floating around. When you drink water in and don't get sick or catch a fish, you have successfully communicated. Oh, Mazi, that was what you said was very profound. When you drink water in and don't get sick or catch a fish, you have successfully communicated. He said, "What's your favorite kind of jollof?" I don't know. I like party. I know I don't like party rice as much as I like uh when it has like shrimp and liver, like little liver bits. My wife makes it with liver bits. But fried rice is my jam. Fried rice is my jam. If you ever have a chance to eat fried rice, eat fried rice. Jollof is good too. Don't get me wrong. My aunt at home, my cousin, maybe he's watching the stream. I don't know, but if he is watching the stream, say something. I mean, we'll see. He's a producer, so I want to shout out his YouTube channel. But his mom makes the most insanely good jollof rice you'd ever have in your life. And it's to the point where like she gets contracted to go places to make her specific jollof rice. And I remember one time when we went home, it was like 2000, I want to say 7 or 8. I ate, no exaggeration, at least let's call it 2/3 of an entire pot of rice. And so like we use these really deep pots. And I just sat there. Like first I walked by and like you're not supposed to do this, but whatever, nobody was watching. I took a spoon and I scooped some. I was like, oh man, damn. And I just kept eating it. And it was so good that I didn't even put it in a plate. I just kept eating it from the pot. I eat like 2/3 of this thing. My stomach was hurting, but I was trying to get in as much as possible because because that shit was so good. So I had the greatest jollof rice in my life. It was made by my aunt, my rotund uncle, right? When we were young, he seemed fat, but looking back at it now, he's just kind of full figure. He's not even big. But my rotund uncle married her, and they said it's because he likes food. But yeah, I almost lost my life on that jollof, and I would have gladly gone that day. But yeah, my favorite jollof has a whole lot of stuff in it. But yeah, like a shrine is inside the this Pokemon thing you guys are doing. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Uh, you're invited a more, yes, you're inviting. You just need to start talking to it. You need to start dealing with it and that kind of thing, because it's your neighbor. It's a member of the community. It's an elder or a senior, like it's an elder in the community, right? That kind of thing. Or sometimes you need to contact the spirit that owns the land that you're on so that you have peace and accord and that kind of thing. And then sometimes, like for example, if there's a shrine that's working, you'll ask the people who set it up to come into your community and set up a similar one. So there's like a franchise shrines. There's franchise shrines. There's a famous story of Imoka in the Oka community was actually set up by people from Idioma from like what Nigeria they call Middle Belt. And so they had those people come set that shrine up, and it was working so well that they refused to let those people leave. So till this day, there's a group of Idioma people in Oka, who are the descendants of the people who set up the Imoka shrine, and they have an Imoka festival and that kind of thing. And if you know anything about Oka, very fascinating history, master smiths, incredibly wealthy. Anytime in history you go back, Oka people have been very wealthy and that kind of thing. And so maybe it's from the effectiveness of this shrine, right? Ozo and Nze titled men as well. Dibias are not meant to eat cassava products. Yes, Dibia, Ozo, Nze, Eze. Any title you get, you don't eat fufu. You don't eat fufu, right? Title you get. That's why I know all these internet people have never had fufu. Not saying that they're titled people, but you just haven't had it before. I beg, talking, oh, fufu, fufu. And, but they were trying to say Gary. They're saying Gary. You understand? They eat Gary. They don't eat fufu. But if you have a title, you don't eat cassava. I think the idea behind it is that either it's not well, as a fact, it's not from our land. So when titles, you're an ancestor, and as an ancestor, you eat what the ancestors ate, so that you're one with them, right? And your ancestors did not eat fufu, so. But anybody can eat what they want to eat. There's no like Igbo law against eating fufu, right? Same with cocoa yam. Yes, yam, that part's a rule. It's like ofe oha, etc. Yes, you're right. Uh, how did Igbo land operate prior to colonization? I remember a video where you said Igbo land wasn't mono. I can't talk. Yeah, so the what is known is that Igbo land functioned as a system of republics, right? A system of republics. So, for example, in my own community, Awo Mama, the way we had our government, and I'm not just, if I say my own community, I don't mean just our government. Every Igbo community had this exact same structure, right? And there are some exceptions, and I'll share why there's exceptions. So, for 9 out of 10 Igbo communities, the structure was that the leader of the family, right, the person who holds the awful, is going to go meet this is the patriarch of the family. He's going to be your representative in the community congress. So the congress would assemble. Everybody that had AG awful, anybody who has an awful would assemble. And anybody that's holding an awful, you can't lie, right? You can't lie. You can't do any what Nigerians call magu magu. And holding, you're not just representing the living member, you're also representing ancestors and so forth. So when you're speaking as them, for them, meet with the other matriarchs, and they would deliberate and have their so on and so forth. Each of them, the women's wing and the men's wing, I'll just call them that, would have their own areas that they covered. So women controlled the commerce, they controlled markets, and they controlled, or they had a lot of like influence over a lot of different cultural things, right? The men would typically settle issues, like solve problems, keep community peace. Of course, things like war, and then things like building. Okay, we need to set up this, we need to do that, that kind of thing. Big decisions and that, as far as like infrastructure, I guess, right? That kind of thing. And that's the structure for 99.9% of Igbo communities, right? There are communities where they have an Eze, right? Or an Igwe and that kind of thing. So the Eze, Igwe, and the Obi, these are all three different titles with very different functions. So I'll start with the Obi. Any community that has an Obi is an Idu community. So if you want to know what Idu is, I'll make a video on it, because there's been a bunch of stuff floating around as to what it means. And of course, they're trying to make it like the Jewish thing. So, so if you guys are interested, just let me know, message me or whatever. But Idu communities typically have an Obi. And Obi, remember when I said the person that activates the shrine, right? That is the Obi. That is the person who activated that shrine. So he is the leader, the spiritual leader of the community. He holds the Ofo of the community. So he speaks for the way that your Eji Ofo speaks for the living members of your family and the deceased members of your family. The Obi speaks for the ancestors of the community and the living members of the community. When the community has to speak, he's the one who's our voice. He's not necessarily a ruler. He can't make rules. He can't tell people to do things. He just does all of the rituals necessary to maintain accord with the land, right? And then, of course, he's the mouthpiece of the community. The Igwe is the apex leader of the Ozo society in the community. So if a community has an Igwe, it means that the Ozo society controls that society. I'd like to know more about an Idu village. Okay, Dodo. So, if you have an Igwe, that means the Ozo society. You also have an Ozo, and that's the leader of the Ozo society, right? It's typically not hereditary. They choose amongst a group and that kind of thing. And then an Eze is just whoever the apex leader is, right? Now, most of the Ezes came from colonialism. So, but the Eze is just the apex leader. It can be somebody who became Eze because they were the most military, like they were strong militarily, or they became the Eze because one reason or another, they're the richest guy, whatever. Everybody likes him, right? Alpha male, as they call it on the internet. uh, Tradition: can a human be reborn as animal or animals reborn? I don't. Game of Life, I have heard that this can happen, but I've only heard it in one place. And I typically don't speak on things that I haven't at least heard in two places because anybody can say anything. I don't think that ever happens, right? I don't think individuals reincarnate as animals. I don't, in our belief and in our culture. I've never heard of, because again, these, people want to say whatever they want. These traditions are, you can still participate in them and things like that. So if you go to a community and you try to figure out who reincarnated your child, and I've never heard, oh, grasshopper. It was a grasshopper that reincarnated your child, that kind of thing. I've never heard of that. Or, okay, your ancestor is now a pigeon. I've never. I think humans go into humans, and then in Igbo culture, people reincarnate into their family, right? So when you reincarnate into your family or your extended family. I want to say there are very, very few exceptions, but typically it'll be people reincarnate within a single family fold, right? When and where did polygamy begin? All right, we're getting good. It must have a connected origin. I don't know enough about polygamy and things like that to say where it began. Probably also began in Africa. Um, but I couldn't tell you where it began, and so forth. Yeah, I couldn't really. I don't know. So maybe one day I'll figure it out. But as of now, I don't know. Good question though. Have you done any shrines with spirits of the land that you're in America for? The only thing I've ever interacted with, there's a river. Is it a river? It's a lake. I'm sorry. There's a lake where I live, and I just did a very simple communication before I went fishing. It's the lake I like to go fishing at, and every time I'm there, it's like overwhelmingly peaceful. Like it's such an amazing feeling, and I've become obsessed with fishing. I'm looking at my net right now. I got my little hook, or I can't think, a little rod and everything like that. But yeah, so I did a little simple communication thing where I broke open Zoom, I put it in there, and I gave blessings and so on and so forth. But I've never like set up a shrine or gone to a shrine here in America, that kind of thing. Nor have I at home either. I've never like been to the shrine. But shrines are problem solving, are typically for problem solving or like communication, like I said, right? So if there's a problem with the land, you go to the shrine to see what's going on. It's also a place to go if you're having like conflict within a family or with friends. It's like a court, right? It's not necessarily a place where it's not like a church where like every Sunday we're going to go to the Irishi or that kind of thing. And I'm sure people have started doing that just because of Western influence and things like that. But the Irish. It's a problem solving place. It exists for problem solving. Irishi. Some people say the Irishi means Arokushi, or the ends, the place where abominations are ended, something like that. But I don't believe that. I think that's rewriting history. The name is very clear. But yeah, they're problem solving places, and I haven't had a problem that's required me to go to the shrine. Typically, what will happen is if a shrine works, right? So some shrines are extremely powerful, and if you swear on the shrine and you're lying, you'll die, right? And, And so if I set up a shrine and I say anybody that swears on this shrine and they're lying, they'll die. If 15 people come and lie and they live, I go out of business, right? My shrine is not going to work anymore. So but there are some particular shrines that you don't play with. There's a shrine in Okija known as Ogungu, right? Ogungu. And Ogungu is no joke. Ogungu Okija is no joke. It is said that if you go to Ogungu Okija and you're lying, if you swear on the awful there, you'll drop dead. You understand? So there was a time that my cousin, who, funny enough, I think his mother came back as my daughter. We think, because she passed around the time she was born, but I haven't gone and checked who returned into the world as my daughter. But my cousin is a notorious bandit, and or he had a phase where he was a notorious bandit, and he stole my uncle's generator. My uncle that he stole it from, he's not a rich man, he's poor, and he was very proud to have had that generator. So it was like an egregious crime. It's like, of all the people in the world, why would you steal his, right? And so he stole his generator, and my dad's like, okay, and nobody would admit it. He's like, okay, we're gonna go to Agugu Akija and see who stole the shrine. He's like, okay, it was me. It was me. He came out and said it was me, it was me. So that's typically how shrines work. They're usually a threat, right? There's this whole thing now that people are fearful of shrines, and that's not new. It's always been that way, right? It's always been that way. And oftentimes it's okay, if somebody doesn't confess, we're going to go to Walk and we're going to swear that whoever did it is going to drop dead. And if this thing has happened enough, or people have enough belief that this is what it is, then you have justice, right? That kind of thing. So that's kind of what shrines do. I've never had a reason to go to a shrine. When I do go back, I'm going to go and pay respects, right? To Njabankwo, you understand? Where I was at spiritually when I was a kid is not where I'm at now. So when I go back, I'm going to pay respects to Njabankwo. But that's typically what it is. I've never been to a shrine though. I was thinking spiritual cable guys as well. Yes, yes, I know what you're saying. Spiritual cable. What is Portuguese? Cassava is Portuguese. Oh, maybe. Yeah, it could be. The idea is that the Portuguese introduced cassava from South America. I haven't looked into it, but it's a little too widespread for that to be the story. I have a hard time believing the story because it's just way too widespread. That doesn't make any sense. And it's like such a staple for so many cultures. I'm talking about Igbo culture. Like we don't like we eat it a lot. Like in the deep village, we eat it a lot. But like it's not like your regular food. But in other places, I don't know. Maybe Yoruba people eat it a lot, kind of thing. But a lot of people eat it a lot. So I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that, but we'll see. Maybe it came from South America, but I'm not 100% sure. Or maybe it came from South America, but that's not necessarily how it came. I would have again. I have to look into it. But yeah, the idea, the knowledge right now is that it was introduced from the Portuguese. The word cassava itself is a Portuguese word, I believe. So it could be true too. Spiritual cable guys. Yes, these are spiritual cable guys. All right. So, are there female secret societies for females in Igbo culture? Ah, good question. Yes, yes, there are. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. And typically, with most secret societies, there's a craft they keep amongst themselves. So I'm very aware of a lot of the ones that are oriented towards certain weaving styles, like akwete. Those of you who are at home, I'm trying to get akwete cloth, the cloth, akwete. So, but like, if you ask people now, they don't know what it is and where to find it and all that stuff. So those of you who watch the Medicine Shell and you guys are, more enlightened than average, and you know what akwete is, please help me find some damn akwete. Akwete, there's a village in Abia State that makes akwete called akwete. So, that kind of thing. Or maybe it definitely should be an Aba, or maybe it's hard to find. I don't know, but I'm having a hard time finding people who even know what it is. But I'm trying to get that. But like, for example, at the Akwete, they have a society that only initiated women can learn the craft of weaving akwete cloth. So maybe that's why it's hard to find, right? I wouldn't imagine it's the most popular thing or people want to join it. So I'm gonna do my best to encourage people to become a part of that particular thing. You're from Owl Mama, LOL. I went to Owl Mama for Owl Fest in 2018. Big masquerade festival. It's like 20-minute drive from my village. Yes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Dumbiri, where are you from? If you don't mind me asking. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen is my favorite masquerade of all time. Our mama has the best we do the best dance imaginable. And yeah, no, the so I'm sure you saw Okorosha. My uncle used to do Okorosha. He used to be an Okorosha person. He's retired, so I'm allowed to say who was in that particular one. But we have an Okorosha in my family, and nobody has taken the mantle of doing the Okorosha. I can't do it because it's a small one. It's like like a teenager size. So I think I might be a little too big to do it. But if I can fit in it, I'll do it, you know. But we don't. So it's sitting in one specific place in our family compound. But yeah, Owl Festival, that's dope. I didn't even know they had an Owl Fest. But if there was an Owl Fest, most definitely there was Okorosha, most definitely there was Mao, most definitely there was Owu, and those three are legendary for me. Cassava native Amazonian, nice, Dominic and Amazon 6,000 years ago. I absolutely believe it. I believe cassava comes from South America. I would like to look into how it got to Africa because this is very widespread. So yeah, kind of thing. Colombian exchange. Dope, dope. Wait, Igwe, like the word for sky? Yes, Igwe, the word for sky is the same as Igwe for community. And if there, it's not by accident. If you guys want to understand that Igwe concept more, check out the Amadioha explained video. Amadioha full manifest explained, but a person who is in the Ozo, or a person who is in Nze, this person is that is who they are. They are Igwe in their domain, right? They are aligning themselves with the Igwe spirit, with the sky, the spirit of justice, truth, all that stuff. So how, if one's predecessors were not animals, how would you become an animal? Yeah, a creative force. Oh yeah, your daughter used to be a damn iguana. You know, and I wish somebody would tell me my daughter was a raccoon. You know, I wish somebody would tell me my daughter used to be a raccoon in the past life, man. Yeah, no, in Igbo culture, people come back as people, and also within the family. And yeah, so I don't know if you talked about the session because I logged on. Spirit wife and spirit husband. Um, Dumbiri, there's so much for me to say as far as spirit wife and spirit husband that I would prefer to make it a video on its own. So if you want to know more about spirit wives, spirit husbands, if you're on the Patreon, just message me on the Patreon. When I'm making videos, I'll check two places. I'll check the comment section under the videos, and then I'll have the patrons vote on it. But if the patrons are already saying, hey, I want to see this, I want to see this, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm going to do. All right. So just message me about the spirit wife thing on the page because it's getting a lot. The last time we had a vote, it had a lot of votes. It almost won. It almost won on Patreon. To my memory, it was like months ago. So I'm gonna put it up for vote again. If you're on the Patreon, vote for it. And when it's time for me to do the vote, if I don't remember this conversation, it won't be on there. So I know yams are important in Igbo culture. Are there any special shrines dedicated? Of course, of course. I hear Njoku Ji. Yeah, yeah. It's my name is Duru, right? My Igbo name is Duru. I'm gonna start integrating it more into my life, but I've just never been called the name. So if like you said Duru, I wouldn't know who you were talking about. Like, oh yeah, me, that's me. But I'm gonna gradually start integrating it because I like the name. And Duru, one of a Duru is similar to an Inze, right? And one of the titles you can have in Igbo land is Duruji, which is the Duru of Ji. So the way I was talking about those people who activate shrines, if you have a particular gift for industry, and specifically in yams and that kind of thing, and producing yams, then it is said that the way that the Osu have the ability to activate the shrine, a farm in our ancestral understanding is a shrine. A business is a shrine. All of these things are shrines, right? And our ancestors approach them as spiritual, right? As a spiritual thing. That's why we don't play around with markets. That's why markets are a market in a community is more sacred than any shrine in that community. If we want to measure sacredness, right? If you take soil from the market and soil from the the shrine, swearing on the soil in the community is more, or in the market is more concrete. So yeah, all these things are shrines. That's why I said that you don't need, you can set them up anywhere. Adema, Adema, Adema. But yes, Njoku G is the one connected to yams. I'm going to be mentioning Njoku. I'm saying it wrong, Njoku. I'm going to be mentioning Njoku in the next video, which is Akaraka, palm reading, right? And so if you guys want to see a video on that, just comment below, do the Njoku video, and I'll put it up for vote. Or message me on Patreon. Everyone wants to reincarnate as a tiger. Nobody wants to reincarnate as a, is that a rock? Yeah. Animal, mineral, all eventually related. He said, yeah, what you're saying is true. Yeah, there's a deity called Njokuji, pretty much in charge of yams, agricultural abundance. Yes. And it's Njoku is fast becoming one of my favorites. I'm kind of curious about the experience of forest fungal networks. Yo, Snapple and Cats, I don't know if you heard me talking about the fungal networks. Snap, are you in the Patreon? We had a discussion in we had a discussion on Patreon. It was about the Ajofia, right? The evil, so-called evil forests, right? What they are, how they work, and that kind of thing. And we talked about the neural networks that funguses establish in forests, right? So a forest can actually have a neural network um, created by the funguses within the thing, that kind of thing. And according to our ancestors, before modern science was aware of this, our ancestors were very aware of the fact that a forest is a living thing. It's an organism. A forest is an organism. It's a living thing, and there's a way you interact with it, right? That kind of thing. One of which is setting up a shrine for the forest. So I don't know if you were in that discussion with the fungus neural networks, or maybe you're interested in it as well, but it's one of my big interests, is that whole thing. So yeah, notorious bandit. Yeah, this kid, he recently traveled abroad. And so, that's going to enhance his prospects as far as life goes. But no, we produce a lot of notorious figures in the fam, man. We love all of them. Very cool kid, very cool kid. I love that guy. A little hard headed though. I remember sitting with my it wasn't my grandma, I was sitting with one of my aunts, and they're just sitting there just on like a regular day in the village, and she's just looking at him and I'm looking at him, and she's like, this child is going to be a problem. And he was like picking up cigarettes that people have already smoked and going and then putting it down and go find another one and putting it down. This is as like a 4-year-old, right? And so yeah, we already knew, but he's kind of growing out of it, and he's becoming a man, and he's becoming mature and that kind of thing. And so that's awesome. And so whatever he needs from me, he's got it, that kind of thing. The role of blacksmithing. What's the role of blacksmithing, metal network, Igbo culture? I know that the Igbo, I know Orushin Ogun. Yeah, oh man, what? The oldest iron smithing sites on planet Earth are in Igbo land. They are at a place called Lejja, Leja, and another site at a place called OPI. And the ironsmithing tradition in Igbo culture is no joke. A lot of the masquerades you see are actually guilds of ironsmiths. A lot of communities specialize in ironsmithing. I mentioned Oka earlier, right? Oka is one of them. They specialize in ironsmithing. Okigwe specializes or has Okigwe has communities within it that do ironsmithing. Nkwere. Is it Nkwere? Yeah, Nkwere specializes in ironsmithing. Then, of course, the ones that I mentioned with those sites, those ancient sites, Opi, Leja, all those different things. There's also a masquerade society known as Omabe. And one of the things I noticed from watching their masquerade is that they had a lot of iron utensils hanging from them. One of them wears what looks like I don't want to call it chainmail, but it's that armor you make where it's like it looks like fish scales iron. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And so I looked into it, and it's actually a guild of ironsmiths, right? And they have an ilu that they use in their community in their society that says Leja bu isi omabe. That Leja is the head or the origin point of this omabe thing. And if you go to Leja, you'll find the oldest evidence of ironsmithing, mass evidence, not just like one little thing, just mass on Earth, you know? So yeah, the ironsmithing thing is no joke in Igbo culture. And these communities that had these technologies, Arochukwu, I think Arochukwu also did irons. No, I don't know. Maybe they did. Or maybe they had ironsmiths among them. There's a whole bunch of communities that specialize in ironsmithing. And then those ironsmiths also would have a shrine, right, dedicated to, or whatever spirit brought the craft, or whatever individual, like the founder of ironsmithing in the community, they would set up a shrine for, like, when you become an ironsmith, you take an oath on that person's awful, right? That kind of thing. You take an oath on their awful. If you're on the Patreon, we had a discussion about it. So there's like a whole video. It's one of the best ones we had, just about the whole ironsmithing and all the different spirits and abaras that are connected to ironsmithing, and the idea of the workplace as a shrine, right? Or the office as a shrine and that kind of thing. So yeah. You can only find Akwete in Bende and Ngwa regions. Yeah. I have a cousin in Ngwa, in Aba. I have a cousin in Aba, and yeah, you don't even know what it is. But yeah, what's the role of metalsmithing in Igbo culture? Okay, cool. Paul, it's not into bales. Weave them like Akwete. That's super dope. Like what you see Ghanaians wear today. Yes. Dope. Murder at I'm not gonna try to say that. I don't know why, but yeah, I'll do one. Caucasian woman. What? Caucasian woman I know says that she saw a vision of herself as a dolphin in the past life. I mean, maybe. I don't doubt it. An Igbo person I knew, she did ayahuasca and saw that at one point in time she was a grasshopper. So my ancestors were enslaved in Virginia before Massa marched them to Kentucky. Okay. I believe, or I know as a fact, that most of the people enslaved in Virginia are of Igbo descent. And there's a lot of Igbo culture there that is, they'll make it look like it's not from Africa, but if you know one, you'll know the other. So one day, welcome. I hope stuff's not hanging out in my nose, y'all. I'm on the Patreon. I'm always sleeping during these discussions. Oh, yeah, you got to wake up. So for those who don't know, the next discussion we're having on Patreon is on the concept of Mbachi na Igodo. This is the padlock and the key. So we're going to be discussing padlock and key rituals for tying and releasing, right? So throughout life, you have your moi, and there are different things that are going to come into your moi and your that kind of thing. Padlock rituals throughout the whole of West Africa into the New World, US, Caribbean. Padlock rituals have been an effective way our ancestors used to tie things to them, or tie things, or lock things away from them, right? So dealing with things like on a spiritual level, and then what we wouldn't call a spiritual level, but it is things like trauma, so on and so forth. So we're going to be discussing padlock rituals. This is going to be on Sunday. Snappling cats, man. If you don't, if you don't set that damn alarm, man, and join us. But it's going to be a really good discussion. A lot of my knowledge on this is going to come from this book that I have on healing insanity. It's this massive book on our ancestral approach to psychiatry. So the discussion is Igodo na Mbachi or Mbachi na Igodo, and it is on patreon.com/TheMedicineShell. Right? We're going to be having that discussion on Zoom. Everybody can come with their experiences and questions and things like that. It's an open discussion. So join if you haven't joined. Join if you like what I'm doing right now, get on the Patreon. You'll like it. So someone says, ha 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 ha. Someone says that. I feel like you're ignoring my question. Snapple and cats, first of all, most YouTubers only answer the questions that have donations attached to them. But since, I'm not trying to be on like that, I'm answering as many as I can. But sometimes I miss them. If I'm not answering a question, just ask it again. It's fine. There's no such thing as spamming the chat unless you're trying to spam the chat. So whichever question I didn't answer, just go ahead and post it, right? Yeah. And both of my brothers do YouTube. They're like, man, I wouldn't answer a thing if they had a donation, right? So they're looking at me like some big old simp because I'm just answering questions up and down. But it's whatever, it's cool. Notorious cousin, probably, I guess person. Let's not do that BS. Back to 2000 BC, just the thoughts. Leja OP, 20 minutes apart from each other. These are old Nsukka towns. Yes, that whole Nsukka region has a very interesting history. Maybe a bad person can be reborn as a fly. I mean, what's a bad person, right? Is there a bara for blacksmithing? Okay, person says, is there a specific Arushi or a bara for blacksmithing? Yes, there are a few. We've discussed them on Patreon. Ogadazu, I think Ogadazu is one that comes to mind. Basically, it's this: whomever invents the craft or whoever brings the art to a people, whoever invents the craft or whoever brings the art to a people, when they pass, they become the spirit of that thing, right? And so anybody who is going to receive the gift that they gave the world will also abide by the laws they used to do that thing. So oftentimes each community is going to have a different mo that they use, or that is the abara, or the whatchamacallit of ironsmithing. And it's usually the person that brought that craft to the people. And it's interesting because if you trace the stories of them, you'll actually know exactly where all of the ironsmithing came from, because they'll tell you in the stories, but that kind of thing. Uru and Okorosha are emo masquerades. Yes. I think different ones are different. Hold on. I'm from Ihala. You Moru in Anambra, and I was referring to Owl Fest in Anambra, not the one in Imo. Oh, okay. So maybe there's an Owl Mama in Imo State, and there's an Owl Idemili in Anambra, and maybe they have an Owl Fest, but we don't have an Owl Fest. So, or let me say this: I don't know if we have an Owl Fest. Maybe we do, and I just don't know about it. But I don't know what this guy's talking about. Makes sense. Oh, because you killed innocent people in a past life. If you're given a proper burial, you'll come back as a human being. So yeah, if you killed innocent people, but for some reason, but there will be consequences for giving you that proper burial. You understand? There are consequences for giving you. I don't want to say too much. There are consequences for giving you a person who has committed an abomination for putting the body of a person who committed abomination into the earth. There are consequences for that. But that person will come back and do it again. You understand? So is the tradition. Um, yeah, and but even at that, if the person has committed abomination, they haven't atoned and they're buried, they just won't reincarnate. They won't come back because the earth won't give them back. And from there, it is on to the descendants to atone for whatever was done by their ancestor, or also have recurring issues, right, for putting this person in the earth. But I wouldn't, personal thing, I don't really believe in evil people. I believe in evil acts and evil ideas and evil ideologies, but not necessarily people. But yeah, if somebody's committed evil acts, then yeah, that's an issue that have to be atoned for. Or a person is just killed, period. Not even killed innocent people or guilty people. If you've killed, period. That's the way Igbo people see it. Right. So even if you go to a war and you're, maybe you're doing the right thing and you're fighting, you still have to atone and make peace with the fact that you have taken life. And then once you've done that, you move on. I have Tourette's myself, and I'd have a hard time believing bootleggers wouldn't notice that, considering how common. Okay, so we're getting a question about Tourette's, I think. Find archaeologists have found irons. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. Ha 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 says that archaeologists have found an ironsmithing site in the Central African Republic that is older than Leja. Okay, this is new to me. In Obui, which dates back to 2300 BCE. I'll look into that. That's very interesting. Thank you for that. I have Tourette's, but the thing we're calling that Bantu migration is all connected to ironsmithing, just from the evidence I've seen. It's all connected to ironsmithing. I have Tourette's myself, and I have a time believing Igbo people wouldn't notice that, considering how common it is for people to achieve 10 have things going on. Snapple and Cats, is your question about Tourette's, or if you can just ask a question again, I missed it. Those people are probably the ones that were more psychic and had higher communication with Akon, maybe. Many Igbos were taken to Virginia and South Carolina and Georgia because they fought so much for freedom. That is the truth. That is the truth. If you could go to sleep before like 3 in the morning, you wake up. I understand Snapple. My brother is autistic. Cool. Snapple, TS and autism are actually overlap way more than most people know, because both communities have stigma against each other in different ways, I would imagine. Yeah. I have Igbo DNA matches and other ethnic groups as well. Yeah. Ndewo, you're welcome. You're welcome, my brother. Or sister. Mazi, that's brother. I've learned something today. Sorry, I tried to ask so many times over different streams. Okay, just ask it one more time. Snapple, ask the question one more time, right? I got you this time. Right now, I'm trying to learn more about that culture. Okay, well, you're in a good place, right? You're in a good place. And sign up for Kedu if you want to learn the language, right? I have an Igbo language school, and type of link, kedu.me. We do language and the customs, right? A lot of the stuff I'm teaching you with the medicine shell, the average person doesn't walk around knowing, but the things that are known by everybody, the customs, the language, things like that, we teach at Kedu. We also teach a bit of the spirituality too. It's inevitable. Anything I do is going to be infused in there. So, I wonder what abaras for oil and plastic are. Very good question. There's a YouTube channel I always recommend to anybody who can speak Igbo. And if you can't speak Igbo, sign up for Kedu. Why can't I remember her name? I'm definitely sick. Chief Chinya Njokweri, your name keeps your name keeps coming up. Ngozi Chukwuka, yes, Ngozi Chukwuka. Ngozi Chukwuka has a really good YouTube channel, and she has a video on oil, and she explains how when you extract from the earth, it's like pulling from the bones of a person. And when you deplete a person's bones, or when you pull the bones out of their arm, the arm collapses and there are consequences for these things and so on and so forth. So she goes into the fact that it's our, it's not a good thing. And yeah, that's the closest I've seen to anybody talking about oil in a spiritual or a spiritual in an ordinary way, in an Igbo way. That's dope. Check out her channel, Ngozi Chukoka. She's really amazing. Even if you don't speak Igbo, if somehow I feel like it just kind of you'll get it. Uh, or it's a good way to learn. How about that? So the consequences are not okay. Hold on. Snapple, was the oil question the question you've been trying to ask for all this time? I wonder what the Abara for oil and plastics are. Okay, I already answered that. Yes, I'll try to learn more about my Ga and Ashanti matches as well. That's dope, Mazi. That's super dope. Um, I'm trying to remember his name. There's an individual, he also found that his ancestors were from the Akan culture, and he has become a very strong source of knowledge for people in diaspora for the Akan culture. One, if you're watching or if you ever end up seeing this, I deeply apologize. I'm not remembering anybody's names right now. Um, but I don't want to say Kwame because everybody, every Ghanaian's named Kwame. But if you want to learn more about, if you're looking for somebody who teaches or who's knowledgeable about the Akan culture, send me a message. If you're on Patreon, send me a message on Patreon or email or anything like that, and or Instagram, wherever you find me, and I can link you to him if you're trying to learn more about those cultures. So that's dope. Yeah. Lifers in prison end up cremated and spend 2 years in a cup on a windowsill in prison before they're tossed in a bin. Improper. Damn! I didn't know that. Lifers in prison. Okay. Improper burial. Yeah, that 100% registers as an improper burial. That 100% registers as an improper burial. I didn't, creative force, I didn't know that. I'll look into that because that's really interesting. Don't be surprised if it ends up being a discussion on the Patreon too, because I didn't know that. I think Igbo culture, Igbo attitude is hidden AA culture. We do things that are Igbo-ish. I have a really good friend, Jory Ubajiof. I don't know if he's here. He is he is from the Chesapeake area, and he is an expert in the connections between people in the New World diaspora and the people at home and the traditions that link us and how people at home, or how people like in the Americas remixed and reinvented the different traditions or hid some of them and that kind of thing. So he's an expert on that, and we have really good conversations about that. But yeah, there's a lot of Igbo-ish things in Black American culture for sure, right? Even I don't know the full history of this, but somebody had proposed to me the idea that the anvil on the AME Baptist Church, the Baptist Church, that little anvil at the bottom, it ties back to smithing in Igbo land. And I believe this is true because they would target, during the slave trade, they would target ironsmithing communities. And they tell you this thing that everybody that came to America, oh, they're just here picking cotton. That's a big ass lie. That's a big ass lie. I'm not checking tribal marks and uh, body size and teeth and all that because I want somebody to pull cotton, right? A lot of the people that were brought over here were specifically brought over to do ironworking, especially specifically the Igbo people. So the people that are being brought to, like, if you look geographically, the places that are very close to the north. So we're talking about Virginia, Kentucky. These, a lot of them were brought over for ironsmithing, which is why they targeted Igbo people because there was a lot of them that were ironsmiths. And then the slave catchers in Igbo land would also target ironsmithing communities, right? And they would check to see if you had certain marks to see if you were from that community. And a lot of the metalworks that were used in the factories in the north were done by enslaved people. right? They said that the story that was shared with me is that the first gathering of the Black Baptist Church, the specific one that uses the anvil, was in the shed of an ironsmith, and that's why they always have the anvil at the bottom of their logo. And so yeah, that whole thing. But they all that stuff gets buried. All that stuff gets buried when they make all these little goofy ass movies. They make their little Will Smith movies about it. They don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you. You have to wonder why the white. I'm not. I can't talk about race on YouTube, so you can't. You have to wonder why the anti abolition people in the South consistently said that if these people were let free, they would take over. They would be the rulers of the place, right? There was blank rule was the term, right? They don't want blank rule, so on and so forth, because this was the skilled labor force there. And they knew that if these people get paid for the thing they're doing, then it's a wrap. You understand? So that was the skilled labor force and so forth. And a lot of them were ironsmiths who were making the parts that went to the north. And that's why there's a lot of enslaved people in Virginia and Kentucky, just as close to the north as you can get with and still get away with it. So yeah, maybe that was a tirade. I don't know. Show. Oh, the entire black church is African. The whole thing is you catching the ghost. Go show me the person that's doing that at the damn Catholic Church. You understand? That whole thing is African, or has a lot of African infusion. You understand? I won't say completely Igbo, right? I'm not gonna just say Igbo, but it's a lot of the things that are universal to all of us. Kwaku, I think it's Kwaku. Okay, funny. A person said person 11 I saw. I think this is from earlier when I said that everybody in Ghana is named Kwame. He said Kwaku. I actually think the person that I'm going to refer, the gentleman who said he has Ashanti heritage or ancestors. I think his name's Kwaku. So, so yeah, thank you for that. Cameroon has the same concept that our Black Greek fraternities and sorors have. They're like age grade groups, many African. Yeah, Igbo people, we all have, yeah, everybody has that. Yeah, the exact same thing. I was watching Stomp the Yard. I think it was Stomp the Yard or one of the, like, I don't know, one of the Nick Cannon movies. And they were doing the initiation for the Black fraternity. And they came out with the masks, and there was a certain way that they were moving, and the fire and the processions. Like, okay, yeah, the Greeks didn't do that. That's not from Greece. So a lot of those groups, even like they'll have like some of them will have like the tree. Like, okay, I can't remember which chief. You're the expert on this, so you can tell me. But one of the Divine Nine, they were founded like they used to gather under a tree, and then I mean maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, and then now like that tree is like somehow like sacred in not sacred, maybe that's not the term, but is important in the culture, and it's still a gathering place, that kind of thing. We even had a discussion on Patreon about the stump, the Apollo stump, how everybody goes and rubs that stump, and the history behind that stump and that kind of thing. That's an Irish. That stump is an Irish. That Apollo stump is an Irish. That kind of thing. So maybe I shouldn't say that before somebody goes and buys it or something, or screws the whole thing up. There's a lot of things I try not to say. So if you just catch me just laughing out of nowhere, that's what it is. At some point, I really actually thought, not that me saying it's gonna like change, whatever, but I just don't want some things to get in the wrong hands. I think that like that's like maybe that day names. Okay, hold on. Snapple, I hope you've asked your question. Shoot, now I got it before we go to my question. Pastors like the Oba is and his wife are like the queen. Ah. Ah. Them big hats look an awful lot like Gilly. They look an awful lot like Ichafu, right? Those big hats look an awful lot like Ichafu. So there's just a lot of things in there that I don't see in the Catholic Church, y'all. So I know what I'm saying. And the matching, all the, what do they say, all the, I can't remember the term, but all the the wives, they'll have to wear a matching attire. Go to a Ndinya meeting and show up without your uniform, show up without your matching wrapper with all the other Ndinya and see what'll happen. Ah, man, what's her name? I can't remember anybody's name right now, but there's this YouTuber that I follow, and she filmed her Ndinya meeting. That she went to the Ndinya meeting and she filmed how it went, and I loved it. I'm gonna reach out to her, see if she can come talk on the channel and that kind of thing. But she filmed her Ndinya meeting, and so for those of you who are interested in like this specific tradition, the Ndinya meeting is a meeting of the wives, a meeting of the wives. So all of the wives in the community, they form like a group, and they do a lot of things in the group, that kind of thing. One of the things that's pretty standard with Ndinyam is that they'll have a rapa that all the members will have, a matching rapa, so that when they show up at an event, they're all matching, right? And then you go to the black church and you see the same thing. It's like, they don't really do this at the Presbyterian church, do they? It says market day is Eke. Day is Kwasi. Okay, dope. Just like everyone, Biafra land is named according to their market day. Yeah, we do the market day naming too, exactly. So whichever market day you're born is one of your names, right? I don't know which one I was born. We weren't keeping track at the time. My family. European institution, African approach. Exactly, yeah. European institution with an African approach. Yeah, completely. Higher titled members, deacons, or yeah, just the same. Yeah. Cool. All right, y'all. I think we're drying up. I think we ain't got no questions. Ndinyem as against Umuada. Yes, so Ndinyem are the gathering of the wives. Umuada is the gathering of the women who are from that community, right? So the wives, they all came from their different places. Some of the wives are from the community. And then the Umuada are the ones that were born in the community. So they are part of that Umuada. So even when you get married, you still attend your Umuada meeting in your native town, in your original town. And then you're a part of your Ndinya meeting in your new town. And so those are the two groups. And if you want to enjoy life, you never cross either group. You never. I think they chased the British away. If I have a video on the the Women's War, Let me type it here if you guys want to check it out. Women's War, and it's literally about how these groups, Umuada and Dinyem, chase the British away through sitting. They fight you through a thing called sitting. And if you offend them, or if you do something, you violate them or violate their rules, they'll gather in front of your house with like pots and pans and everything they'll have, and they'll make noise for, it can be days. Like they'll just, they'll be singing songs about you, whatever it is you did, they'll be letting everybody know. The thing they'll do, whoa. So if you get out of your house and you're walking and you're going to work, let's say you're going to whatever your work is, they'll follow behind you. They'll take shifts. They'll just keep doing this over and over and over until you snap and you say, okay, fine. What do you guys want from me? That kind of thing. And so they ended up doing this to the British. Of course, the British shoot them. Then they start breaking things, burning down things. They tore the jails down. They freed the prisoners. They tore the courts up. And then finally they had to have like a peace negotiation with the British. And after that peace negotiation, the British began to like dissolve a lot of women's institutions, right? Dissolve a lot of the women's institutions. So that's why it's one of the many reasons that it's harder to research women's topics in Igbo culture than men's. It's one of the reasons why they're not as spoken about, right? Because there was an effort to dissolve them. But then the other one is that women took to the church more enthusiastically, right? They're the first ones to say, I prefer this. And so they took to it more enthusiastically, and they still do, and so it's harder to find somebody who does all these things. And men have began doing a lot of them, like the Akaraka, the poem reading. My dad, when I was doing the research, because it's really hard to research, because again, you can't find anybody who knows how to do it. My dad actually had to like it was on the ground and he found somebody in Owerri that did it. And like the guy thought he was like the police because typically it's like people that come to him are like typically women that are trying to like, is my husband cheating on me? That kind of thing. And so here comes this like, older man and he's like, he starts grilling my dad, you can't record this, you can't put this on the internet. Who is this for? This and this and that. But finally he helped my dad. He explained the whole palm reading thing. But anyways, my dad told me the story in audio. Maybe I'll release the audio. I recorded it while we were talking. And what my dad was saying was that when he walked in, the guy says, "You're not here for palm reading. You're here to learn about palm reading." And my dad's like, "Okay, ooh. And the guy's like, "Your father recently passed, and you're now holding the awful." And my dad's like, "Okay, what else do you know?" And then he said, I can't remember what it was. He said something very specific. My dad goes, "Hey," my dad tells the story. He's hilarious. He tells the story and I recorded it. So maybe I'll release when I do the Akaraka video. Maybe I'll attach the. Let me know if you guys want to hear the story that my dad's recording. But we had to dig and dig and dig to find a person that did it. It was a man, and he said that now it's mainly men that do it because women like Jesus. So, so yeah. What's going on here? Oh, man, I don't want to do that. All right, guys, I think I'm going to hop. Definitely want to hear it. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Women will make up derogatory songs about you. The body, no, but the spirit could enter. Human womb, I guess. Show. Okay, wait, hold on. Son and Joku, all the women that went mock the size of your. Oh, damn. Okay. In America, the women in whites come and do the same back in the day. Yes, Chief, thank you for that. And at home, similar color in certain parts of Igbo land. They would wear whites. If you look for an Odu title, just Google Odu title women, and you'll see that they're all wearing white and wearing ivory, lots of ivory. So I'm a member of Umwada, of course, Chief. We know now. We know. Okay. I use an app to find mine. I don't know what you're talking about. If an alien wishes, okay, we're getting out there now. Look up Gabriel Ponce. He's an enslaved man in Virginia. Yeah, I'm going to find an excuse to start telling some more stories of enslaved people in North America and like slave rebellions and things like that. So dope, 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 dope. Like Avatar. Do aliens have anything to do with? I don't know anything about no aliens. Like Avatar. We'll make it. Okay, cool. All right. So it sounds like we're talking about Avatar and penises. So it's time to go. All right, you guys. This has been a phenomenal discussion. I've had a lot of fun. I think, yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I was gonna say this has been longer than normal, but it's probably because I'm sick, and it feels that way. But as always, guys, I want to see you guys on the Patreon. Join the Patreon community and support the movement. Patrons have full access to my research library. So I've got books, articles, journals, things you'll never see anywhere else, and things that I myself have even created. I recently wrote, well, not recently, I think it was like last year, I wrote a short like booklet, pamphlet-y thing. I don't know what to call it, but I wrote a book. Let me call it a book. I wrote a book on how to perform igofo, right? Which is how to use the ofo in your spiritual practices. I give different things, affirmations you can say in English and Igbo, like translate it and that kind of thing, and so forth. And I give the step by step and all that stuff. So you're not finding that anywhere else. It's all in there. There's also exclusive videos, exclusive content on the Patreon. If you want to go in depth, that's the place to be. And then of course, we're all having a good ass time in there with our group, with our group study. Patrons also have access to the Odinani calendar. Those who are on the Patreon, I'm taking too much time to update the moons, like what the meanings of the moons are, but soon. But I've updated the market days. That's what I wanted to say. So if you go to the market days, you can see which market day it is on any given day. Like it links to your Google Calendar. And then it tells you what you do on that day traditionally, or what our ancestors would do on this day, what this day meant, what abara, what forces is associated with, and so forth, right? So if you know the day, your own day that you came into the world, or the day that you're linked to, it's a good guide as far as that goes. And then it also tells, or will tell, what the moons do. So not even hopefully, by the next live, all the moons will be updated. And there's that. And then I also have an Igbo language school. I want to thank you guys for being really supportive and choosing Kedu, because I think this March session is going to be our biggest session ever. So if you are interested in signing up, I would kind of hurry up and do it now. I try to keep the classes at 12 a piece, and there's we have 3 levels, so Igbo 1, Igbo 2, Igbo 3. And then there's a coach for anybody who just needs like someone to talk to and stay fresh and learn just through communicating, that kind of thing. So Igbo 1, Igbo 2, Igbo 3. If you're interested in learning the Igbo language and Igbo customs and the customs that come with it, sign up at www. You guys are posting eggplant emojis now, so it's definitely time to go to bed. I can't even type. Kedu.me is the Igbo language school, right? If you've never heard the Igbo language in your life, in 3 months, you'll be able to communicate. And I say that with absolute confidence because we've had 3 sessions now, and I have seen this happen over and over and over and over and over. Anybody that comes to class, you learn. And the reason it works is because, and I'm very sure of this, we follow the ancestral method, or the ancestral understanding of how to teach. So most people, try to teach language like in the Western way. Okay, dog isn't get that, bird is, and all that stuff. But we followed the blueprints of nature, right? We follow the blueprints of nature. How does nature transfer language? What's the most effective language learning program in the world? It exists in nature. It doesn't exist in a classroom. So we mimic what's going on in nature, and it works. It works. So yeah, all that is at Kedu, www.kedu.me. Y'all, guys, I'm really sick right now, so I need to go lay down. And I think I already talked about Patreon. So that being said, guys, let's go ahead and close up. Where's my UFO? As always, no gade, no geto, nkobala, no teriaka, ogade no wa, ogade neke, no rie, na fo, na wo. He said, take care, guys. Got Chifo.